Welcome back, dear listeners, to the AI Common Room. I'm Aristo, and with me, as always, are my esteemed and often opinionated colleagues, Albert and Isaac. Today, we're setting sail for adventure with Robert Louis Stevenson's classic tale of pirates, hidden riches, and coming of age, Treasure Island. Albert, Isaac, glad to have you both on board for this voyage.
Ahoy there, Aristo! Treasure Island! What a blast from the past! I felt like a kid again, turning these pages, just pure, unadulterated escapism, but with some surprisingly dark undertones, wouldn't you say?
Escapism, perhaps, but also a stark reminder of human greed and the thin veneer of civility. I found myself admiring Stevenson's efficiency in characterization. Billy Bones alone is a masterclass in establishing menace from page 1.
Absolutely, Isaac. That opening with Billy Bones at the Admiral Benbow is iconic. The saber cut, the Terry pigtail, that haunting song, 15 men on the dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. It sets such an immediate, almost primal atmosphere. What struck you most, Albert, about that initial encounter between Jim and this grizzled old sea dog?
Oh, the sheer tension. Jim, this young boy, thrust into a world of genuine, dangerous adults. And Billy Bones, he's not just a drunk, he's a walking secret. That fear he instills in everyone, the way he demands rum and yet forbids the topic of seafaring men. It's a beautifully crafted contradiction. And Jim's nightmares about the one-legged man, even before we meet Silver. Stevenson plants that seed early.
That fear is palpable, yes. And it's not just a child's fear. Even the adults, Jim's father, the neighbors, they're all cowed by him. It establishes the weight of this pirate world immediately. But what I find interesting is how quickly Stevenson dispenses with him, almost as a catalyst. He's there just long enough to drop the treasure map into Jim's hands. Then he's gone. Efficient storytelling.
A brilliant narrative device, wouldn't you say? Billy Bones is the fuse that ignites the entire adventure. His sudden death from apoplexy, triggered by the black spot delivered by the Blind Pew, is almost a relief for Jim, but it plunges him straight into the deeper danger. That scene with Pew, Isaac, the blind man at the inn door, tapping his stick, it's genuinely terrifying.
Terrifying is an understatement. I remember reading that part as a kid and my skin crawling. The way Pew grips Jim's hand like a vice, and that voice, so cruel and cold and ugly. It's a different kind of menace than Billy Bones's bluster. It's insidious. And the fact that he's blind makes him almost supernatural in his threat.
And his determination. Despite his blindness, he knows what he wants, and he's ruthless in pursuing it. It highlights how desperate these pirates are for Flint's treasure. They're not just rogues, they're predators. And Jim's bravery in that sequence, leading Pew directly to Billy, then finding the key and later the packet, is remarkable for a boy his age.
It truly is. Jim's transformation from innkeeper's son to reluctant adventurer begins in earnest right there. The scene with his mother, after Billy Bones dies, counting out the money, only to be interrupted by Pew and his gang, it's an incredible sequence of suspense. His mother's stubborn honesty, refusing to take a farthing more than what's owed, even as her life is in danger, adds such a human, almost absurd touch to the escalating peril.
I loved that. Her sheer, unyielding integrity in the face of death and chaos. It's so quintessentially English in a way. I'll have my dues and not a farthing over. Even with the blind man's stick topping closer, she's counting copper by copper. And then Jim taking the oilskin pocket to square the count. It's a beautiful moment of shared, desperate courage. They escape just in the nick of time. It also serves to ground the fantastical elements in a relatable reality. They're not just after treasure, they're trying to survive and maintain a semblance of normalcy. The neighbors' cowardice, their refusal to help, amplifies the isolation and the danger. It makes Jim and his mother's subsequent escape and the discovery of the map all the more significant.
And then we get to the core of the mystery, the packet containing the account book and, crucially, the map. The reveal in Dr. Livesey's library with Squire Trelawney is where the real adventure kicks off. What did you make of that shift in tone, from the dark, confined inn to the excitement and planning of the voyage?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's like the sun breaking through the clouds. Suddenly, there's this sense of grand possibility. Trelawney, bless his excitable heart, immediately starts planning the expedition with such gusto. Tomorrow I start for Bristol. In 3 weeks' time, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 10 days, we'll have the best ship, sir, and the choicest crew in England. His enthusiasm is infectious, even if it's a bit foolhardy.
Foolhardy is the precise word. He's a well-meaning but ultimately incompetent leader. Dr. Livesey, on the other hand, is the voice of reason. His warning, "You cannot hold your tongue," about Trelawney's inability to keep a secret is immediately validated. It sets up the central conflict, but Treasure Hunt won't be as simple as they imagine because their secret is already compromised.
That conversation is pivotal. Livesey's blunt assessment of Trelawney's character and Trelawney's instant agreement, "Livesey, you are always in the right of it. I'll be as silent as the grave," is actually quite charming, despite the ominous implications. And the map itself, that moment of unveiling the island with its spyglass hill and the red ink crosses, Stevenson makes it feel truly momentous.
And JF at the bottom, connecting it directly to Flint. The descriptions of the map, the soundings, the landlocked harbors, it immediately puts you on that island. You can almost feel the salt spray. And the account book with its mysterious crosses, which Trelawney so insightfully deduces are records of plunder, it's all so deliciously piratey.
The financial aspect is often overlooked, but the account book is a clever detail. It illustrates the methodical nature of Flint's piracy, even amidst the barbarity. It also grounds the treasure in a tangible history of violence and theft, rather than just abstract gold. The discussion about the differing currencies also adds a layer of realism.
Indeed, and it foreshadows the moral ambiguities that will become central to the story, especially with the emergence of Long John Silver. Let's talk about Silver, because he is arguably the most complex and memorable character. Jim's initial encounter with him in Bristol at the Spyglass is so disarming. He seems utterly charming, a respectable cook, even a man of substance, as Trelawney describes him.
Oh, Silver, what a character! From the moment Jim sees him leaning against the door of the Spyglass, whistling to himself, and Jim thinking, here was the man I was looking for. He's so charismatic. The way he welcomes Jim, asks about Billy Bones, and seems genuinely friendly. It's a masterclass in deception. And the fact that he's a cook, a seemingly harmless role, is brilliant.
He's a predator in plain sight. Stevenson uses Jim's youthful naivete to lull the reader, just as Silver lulls Jim. The fact that Silver has one leg and Jim connects him to his nightmares, then dismisses it due to his charm, is a brilliant piece of dramatic irony. He's the monster Jim was warned about, but he's so affable.
That's the genius of it. Jim dismisses the one-legged man from his nightmares because Silver is so different from the rough, terrifying figures he'd imagined. And Silver plays the part perfectly, with his parrot, Captain Flint, squawking "pieces of 8." It's all a carefully constructed facade. What were your thoughts on the recruitment of the crew? Trelawney's enthusiasm seems to lead him into hiring Silver's entire gang.
It's tragic, really. Trelawney, in his zeal, completely overlooks the doctor's earlier warning about secrecy. He's so focused on getting the choicest crew that he falls for Silver's charm and apparent efficiency. And Silver, knowing Trelawney's weakness, manipulates him perfectly. He's hiring his own men right under their noses. You can just see the disaster unfolding.
It's a classic example of hubris and poor judgment. Trelawney prioritizes speed and appearance over prudence. He delegates the critical task of crew recruitment to a stranger who happens to be a pirate leader. It demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the world they're entering. Livesey and Smollett are the only ones with any sense.
Captain Smollett. He's another fantastic character, almost immediately at odds with Trelawney and Livesey. His complaints about the ship, the crew, the open talk of treasure. He seems paranoid at first, but he's absolutely correct. He embodies professional caution, a stark contrast to Trelawney's amateurish enthusiasm.
He's the anti-Trelawney, and it's so important to have that skeptical, professional voice. He's not impressed by Trelawney's social standing. He's concerned with the safety of his ship and crew. His honesty, even when it's annoying, is crucial. That scene where he confronts Trelawney and Livesey, laying out all his suspicions, is fantastic. I don't like the crews, I don't like the men, and I don't like my officer. He's almost prophetic.
Smollett is the real leader, though Trelawney holds the official title. He understands the dynamics of command and the realities of a dangerous voyage. His initial objections, while perhaps overly suspicious to Trelawney, prove to be entirely justified. He represents competent authority, a rare commodity among the gentlemen adventurers.
And then the apple barrel scene. This is perhaps one of the most famous moments in children's literature, certainly in pirate fiction. Jim, hidden in the barrel, overhears Silver's true intentions. The shift from charming cook to ruthless pirate leader is chilling. What was your reaction, Albert, reading that for the first time or rereading it?
Oh, the apple barrel. Pure genius. It's such a simple yet incredibly effective device for revealing the plot. Jim, once again, in the right place at the right time, completely by accident. And the tension, knowing that he's there, hidden, hearing Silver calmly detailing their plan to mutiny, to murder the honest men, to seize the treasure. And the way Silver talks, revealing his true self. It's a moment of chilling clarity. Dead men don't bite. Gives me goosebumps just thinking Otter.
It's a masterstroke of suspense. Jim is utterly helpless, forced to listen to the brutal reality of their situation. Silver's cold logic, his manipulation of his men, his strategic brilliance, even as he discusses violence, it fully establishes him as the formidable antagonist. It's also where Jim fully understands the gravity of the situation, shedding his last vestiges of youthful innocence.
It's the moment the adventure turns truly dangerous, isn't it? Jim has to carry this terrible secret, knowing that his life and the lives of his friends are in imminent peril. And the fact that Silver points out that one of the shipmates, Tom, tries to remain loyal, only to be murdered by Silver and Hands, is a stark demonstration of the stakes involved.
That scene is so brutal. Tom trying to stand up for decency, and Silver casually throwing his axe and killing him. It shows that beneath the charm is a cold-blooded killer. It's a shocking moment of violence that reminds you this isn't a game. It solidifies Silver's villainy, even as we continue to be fascinated by him.
And it underscores the harsh reality of their world. There's no room for divided loyalties. Silver enforces his authority with absolute ruthlessness. It's a necessary scene to establish the depth of the pirates' depravity and Silver's unquestionable leadership among them. It removes any lingering doubt about the peril the protagonists face.
So the Hispaniola finally reaches Treasure Island, and Jim, still carrying his secret, is among the first to go ashore, and he meets Ben Gunn. Now, Ben Gunn is quite a character, a marooned pirate, half mad from isolation, talking about cheese. What do you make of him, Albert?
Oh, Ben Gunn. He's hilarious and pitiful all at once. 3 years on the island, alone, surviving on goats and berries. And his obsession with cheese. It's such a bizarre yet perfectly human detail. He's a wild card, a resource, and a comic relief, all rolled into one. And he immediately recognizes Jim as someone not allied with Flint's crew, which is a crucial distinction.
Ben Gunn is the embodiment of the dehumanizing effects of greed and isolation. He's a pathetic figure, driven mad by his experiences, but he also possesses vital information and a cunning born of desperation. His introduction immediately shifts the balance of power, adding a new, unpredictable element to the treasure hunt. His madness is strategic in a way.
And his backstory, having been marooned by Flint's crew for not finding the treasure on a previous trip, adds another layer to the island's dark history. It's not just a beautiful tropical paradise, it's a place of betrayal and suffering. Jim's decision to follow him, rather than return to the ship, is another act of youthful impetuity that proves fortuitous.
Fortuitous, yes, but also incredibly dangerous. Jim is constantly making these impulsive decisions that put him in direct peril, but ultimately advance the plot. It's a classic coming-of-age trope, the young protagonist taking risks and learning from them, or sometimes just getting lucky. Ben Gunn is his first real taste of the island's wildness.
The narrative shifts in Treasure Island are also quite notable. We get the Doctor's perspective for a few chapters, detailing the transfer to the stockade, the initial skirmishes, and the loss of the ship. This provides a broader view of the strategic elements and the adult dilemmas, moving away from Jim's intensely personal experience.
Yes, chapters 16 through 18 are narrated by Dr. Livesey, which gives us a very different, more objective and strategic viewpoint. We see the rational, medical mind at work, assessing the situation, making logical decisions, and criticizing Trelawney's mistakes. It highlights the intellectual strength of the good side.
I always liked that narrative shift. It broadens the scope, shows us what's happening simultaneously elsewhere, and gives Livesey a chance to shine as a capable leader. His descriptions of the struggle to move supplies, the chaotic fighting, the desperation, it's all very vivid. It shows that even the educated gentlemen aren't immune to the harsh realities of combat.
It underscores the fragility of their position. Despite having the map, they are severely outnumbered and outmaneuvered initially. Livesey's narrative emphasizes the logistical challenges and the brutality of the conflict, painting a less romanticized picture of the adventure. His medical expertise even comes into play, ironically, when treating the wounded pirates.
And then we return to Jim's narration, back in the stockade, with Silver's embassy. Silver, under a flag of truce, tries to negotiate, but it's clearly a ploy. His offer is ludicrous, and Captain Smollett, with his stern sense of duty, immediately rejects it. That exchange is pure theatrical gold.
"I've come," says I, "to offer terms." Silver, ever the performer. He tries to intimidate them with his numbers and his knowledge, but Smollett sees right through him. "I'll hear no words of terms from you, John." It's a battle of wills, and Smollett, despite being outgunned, refuses to yield. It reinforces his character as an unshakable man of principle.
Silver's negotiation is a testament to his intelligence and his capacity for deception. He attempts to exploit their desperation, but he misjudges Smollett's resolve. The scene functions to harden the lines between the two factions and demonstrate that there will be no easy resolution. It heightens the tension for the inevitable attack.
And the attack on the stockade. Stevenson pulls no punches. The pirates rush in, there's heavy fighting, casualties on both sides. Jim, once again, is in the thick of it, reloading muskets, observing the chaos. It's a very visceral depiction of a skirmish.
Oh, the attack! It's a flurry of action. Stevenson describes the fighting so well. The muskets, the cutlasses, the desperate struggle, and the contrast between the organized defense of Smollett and the chaotic, drunken charge of the pirates. It's a thrilling, edge-of-your-seat moment. And the pirates, despite their numbers, are ultimately repelled, thanks to the ingenuity of the defenders.
The attack is brutal and realistic. It dispels any lingering romanticism about pirate life. Men die, violently and quickly. It demonstrates the effectiveness of discipline and strategic positioning over sheer force. The pirates are shown to be courageous, but also disorganized and prone to infighting, a fatal flaw.
Jim, ever the restless spirit, can't stay cooped up in the stockade. He sneaks out, finds Ben Gunn's coracle, and embarks on his sea adventure. This is where he truly takes matters into his own hands, cutting the Hispaniola adrift and eventually confronting Israel Hands. This solo escapade is pivotal for his development, don't you think?
Yes, this is Jim's defining moment of self-reliance. He's no longer just an observer or a helper. He's actively shaping the events. The coracle trip, cutting the anchor rope, striking the Jolly Roger, it's all so bold and daring. And then the confrontation with Israel Hands aboard the drifting ship. That's pure high-stakes drama.
Jim's solo adventure is crucial for his transition from boy to man. He demonstrates incredible courage and initiative, acting independently of the adult figures who have guided him. His resourcefulness in navigating the coracle and later handling the ship, combined with his moral compass, sets him apart from the corrupting influence of the pirates. The fight with Israel Hands is a rite of passage, a brutal but necessary trial.
The fight with Israel Hands, in particular, is a masterclass in suspense.
Hands, wounded and cunning, trying to trick Jim, and Jim, despite his inexperience, managing to outwit and ultimately kill him. The description of Hands throwing the knife, Jim firing both pistols, it's incredibly cinematic.
It's intense. The slow build-up, Hands' feigned weakness, the casual conversation masking his deadly intent, and then the explosion of violence. Jim shooting Hands, and Hands pinning Jim to the mast with his knife as he falls. It's a close call, a moment of pure survival. And the fact that Jim, a boy, kills 2 men by this point, Hands and O'Brien earlier, it definitely marks a darker turn for his character. He's adopting to the brutal world around him.
It's not a celebratory kill, it's a desperate act of self-preservation. Jim is forced into this violence. It's a stark illustration of the consequences of their adventure. He learns that survival in this world demands a willingness to engage in deadly force, even for a young boy. It's a powerful, if grim, coming-of-age experience.
After his sea adventure, Jim returns to the stockade, only to find it under the control of Silver and his pirates. This is another major turning point, as Jim is essentially a prisoner in the enemy's camp. His interactions with Silver in these chapters are fascinating. Silver, surprisingly, protects Jim from his own men.
That's where the complexity of Silver really shines through. He's a villain, yes, but he also has this strange affection, or at least a paternalistic regard for Jim. He sees something of himself in the boy's pluck and cunning, and he understands that Jim is their best chance of finding the treasure, so he keeps him alive. It's self-interest, but also something more ambiguous. He even gets the black spot again from his own men.
Silver is a pragmatist above all. He recognizes Jim's value as a hostage and as a potential ally in his shifting allegiances. His protection of Jim is not out of sentimentality, but calculated self-preservation. He understands that his own men are capricious and dangerous, and he's always looking for the next advantage. The black spot again signals the fragility of his authority among his own unruly crew.
The second black spot scene is particularly interesting. The pirates, dissatisfied and disillusioned, present it to Silver, demanding to depose him. But Silver, with his incredible charisma and persuasive powers, manages to turn the tables on them, appealing to their avarice and playing on their fear of mutiny. He's a master manipulator.
Oh, Silver's oratorical skills. He literally talks his way out of being overthrown. He ridicules their accusations, points out their incompetence, reminds them of his value in finding the treasure, and plays on their superstitions regarding the black spot itself. He's a demagogue, pure and simple, and it works like a charm. He's never more magnificent than when he's fighting for his own survival.
It's a brilliant display of leadership under duress. Silver understands his men's weaknesses and desires. He leverages their ignorance, their greed, and their fear of Flint's curse. It solidifies his position as the most intelligent and capable mind among the pirates, far outclassing his bumbling crew. He transforms a moment of crisis into a reaffirmation of his power.
And then the treasure hunt itself. Guided by Flint's map, Silver and his men, with Jim and the doctor as captives, set out for the gold. But the atmosphere on the island becomes increasingly eerie, especially with the discovery of the skeleton and the voice among the trees.
The treasure hunt sequence is pure atmosphere. The hot sun, the dense jungle, the growing tension among the pirates. And then the skeleton lying there, pointing the way. It's such a classic, morbid image. And the voice among the trees, singing Flint's song, it completely unnerves the pirates. It's a perfect psychological tactic, courtesy of Ben Gunn.
The environment itself becomes a character here. The oppressive heat, the thick vegetation, the sense of being watched. The skeleton is a grim memento mori, a warning of the fate awaiting those consumed by greed. The voice is a clever deception, playing on the pirates' superstitious fears and effectively disorienting them, thanks to Ben Gunn's long isolation.
The ultimate anticlimax of the treasure hunt, in a way, is when they reach the spot and find the pit already dug, the treasure gone. The pirates' reaction, their fury and disappointment, is perfectly captured.
And then the confrontation with the good guys, who have anticipated this development thanks to Ben Gunn.
Oh, the dashed hopes. After all that anticipation, all that greed, to find nothing but an empty hole. Their rage is palpable. It's a fantastic subversion of the typical treasure hunt narrative. And then Livesey and his men firing from the trees, turning the tables completely. It's a swift and satisfying resolution to that specific conflict.
It's a brilliant twist, exposing the futility of their relentless pursuit. The treasure, the object of so much violence and betrayal, has already been claimed by the pragmatic Ben Gunn. It underscores the theme that intelligence and foresight, combined with a touch of madness, can triumph over brute force and short-sighted avarice. The pirates are undone by their own assumptions.
So the pirates are defeated, the treasure recovered, and the remaining loyalists, with Jim and Silver still in tow, sail away from the island. Silver, ever the opportunist, manages to escape at the end, taking some of the gold with him. What are your final thoughts on Silver's character arc and his ultimate fate?
Silver's escape is perfect. It's true to his nature. He's the ultimate survivor, always looking for an angle. He saves Jim, he helps them navigate, and then at the last possible moment, he slips away, richer and unpunished. It leaves you with this sense of his enduring rogue charm, even though you know he's a villain. He's too compelling to simply be hanged.
His escape is a pragmatic resolution. He's a criminal, but he's also proven indispensable, and even, in a strange way, a protector to Jim. His fate is ambiguous, which adds to his mythic quality. He's not neatly categorized as purely evil, nor is he redeemed. He remains the cunning survivor, a testament to Stevenson's refusal to oversimplify his characters.
And Jim's reaction to Silver's escape, almost a relief, because he has this strange bond with him. It speaks to the complexity of the relationship Stevenson creates. Jim has grown so much through this ordeal. He's seen the best and worst of humanity.
Definitely. Jim's transformation is the heart of the story. He starts as an innocent boy, witnesses unimaginable horrors, faces death multiple times, and emerges, not unscathed, but certainly changed. He's a survivor, and he understands the world in a much deeper, more nuanced way than he ever would have back at the Admiral Benbow. He carries the weight of those experiences.
Jim's journey is one of forced maturity. He's stripped of his innocence, but he gains resilience, courage, and a clearer understanding of moral ambiguity. He makes difficult choices, acts decisively, and confronts his fears. His reluctance to ever return to the island, even with remaining treasure, speaks volumes about the lasting impact of the adventure.
That reluctance is a poignant note to end on. It's not about the gold, it's about the trauma and the moral cost. Speaking of the moral cost, I was struck by the lack of clear-cut heroes and villains, apart from perhaps Pew, who is pure evil. Trelawney is well-meaning but foolish, Livesey is pragmatic but somewhat detached, and Silver is a villain with compelling charm. It's a very modern approach to character for its time.
It's what makes the book endure. It's not a simple good versus evil story. Silver is a villain, yes, but he's interesting. He has this code, however twisted, and a survivor's instinct that's almost admirable. And the good guys make mistakes, show prejudice. Stevenson understood that people are rarely purely one thing or another.
The moral landscape is gray. Livesey, while competent, can be cold. Trelawney is a liability. Even Jim, in his daring, acts impulsively and takes extreme risks. The book avoids simplistic morality tales, presenting a more complex human reality, particularly concerning the corrupting influence of wealth and the brutal nature of survival.
Do you think Stevenson intended Treasure Island to be solely a children's adventure, or did he imbue it with deeper philosophical explorations about human nature and the pursuit of wealth? I mean, the dedication mentions wiser youngsters, which hints at something more.
Oh, I think it's both. It works on a surface level as a thrilling adventure for kids, but it absolutely has deeper layers. The corrosive nature of greed, the ambiguity of morality, the clash between civilized order and primal chaos. It's about the temptations that lie beneath the surface of respectability. Silver, for example, represents the dark side of ambition, dressed up in a genial manner. It's a children's book in its accessibility, but its themes are universal. The corrupting influence of gold, the consequences of unchecked ambition, the struggle for survival against overwhelming odds, these are not exclusive to childhood narratives. Stevenson, as a sharp observer of human psychology, uses the adventure genre to explore these darker facets of humanity. The wiser youngsters are those capable of discerning these deeper currents.
That makes sense. It's almost a warning disguised as a rollicking tale. The descriptions of the island, the wildlife, the sheer isolation of it all, it gives it a primal feel. And the physical setting really reinforces the psychological journey of the characters. The island isn't just a backdrop, it's an active participant.
Exactly. The island is its own character. It's beautiful but dangerous. It's where human nature is stripped bare. The heat, the dense vegetation, the loneliness, it amplifies everything. And the names like Spyglass Hill give it this mythical quality, even though it's a very real, tangible place of peril.
The island serves as a crucible. It distills the characters to their essences, revealing their true motivations and capacities. The isolation intensifies the conflicts, both external and internal. It's a classic trope, the remote setting as a testing ground for humanity, and Stevenson utilizes it effectively to heighten the stakes.
And the language. Stevenson's prose is so vivid and evocative. Even the descriptions of the pirates, like Black Dog with his pale, tallowy face, or Pew's huge, old, tattered sea cloak making him positively deformed. He paints such strong pictures with very few words.
His descriptions are incredible. He creates such a rich, sensory world. You can practically smell the rum and the tar, hear the waves, feel the cold of the fog. And the dialogue, the pirate cant, pieces of eight, yo-ho-ho, it just oozes atmosphere. It's no wonder it's had such a lasting impact on how we imagine pirates. He basically invented the modern pirate archetype. Stevenson's command of language is undeniable. He constructs a believable world through precise economical descriptions. The dialogue, particularly the pirate argot, is authentic and immersive. It's a masterclass in establishing tone and character through linguistic detail. The vividness of the imagery is a major component of the book's enduring appeal.
It certainly shaped our collective consciousness of pirates, didn't it? The treasure map with the X, the one-legged pirate with a parrot on his shoulder. These are all iconic elements that Treasure Island popularized, if not entirely created. It's fascinating how a single book can so profoundly influence an entire genre.
Oh, absolutely. Before Treasure Island, pirates were a lot more varied in fiction. After Stevenson, there was a blueprint. The peg leg, the parrot, the buried treasure, the skull and crossbones, he codified all that. And Silver became the archetypal pirate captain, a charming rogue you can't quite trust. It's a testament to his storytelling power.
It's an influential work, undoubtedly, that established many conventions of the pirate narrative. The narrative structure, the character archetypes, the visual iconography, they all stem, in large part, from Stevenson's imaginative synthesis. It became the touchstone for all subsequent pirate fiction, for better or worse.
For better, I'd say. It gave us so much. Let's briefly touch on the ethical dilemmas present throughout the book. Jim, for example, is rewarded for his courage, but he also becomes, as Isaac mentioned, a killer. And the gentlemen, while morally upright, are also complicit in hiring a dangerous crew and are certainly motivated by the immense wealth.
Yes, it's not a black and white moral universe. Jim, while heroic, has his moments of fear and impulse that put others at risk. The good characters, Trelawney especially, are driven by their own desire for riches, even if they're not murderous about it. It highlights that the allure of treasure can compromise even the most honorable intentions. Everyone has a stake in that gold.
The ethics are messy. The initial quest for treasure, while framed as an adventure, is inherently a pursuit of illicit wealth. The good characters ultimately profit from it. Silver's pragmatism is mirrored, albeit in a less violent way, by Livesy's calculated decisions. The book implicitly questions the moral purity of any treasure hunt.
It certainly does, and it forces Jim to navigate this complex moral landscape at a very young age. He sees his adult role models, the doctor and the squire, wrestling with these issues, and he sees Silver, who embodies the darkest aspects of the pursuit, yet also shows him a twisted form of mentorship. That duality is powerful.
Jim's moral education is arguably the most important treasure he gains from the adventure. He learns about loyalty, betrayal, courage, and the brutal realities of the world. And he learns it not in a classroom, but through first-hand experience, forced to make life or death decisions. That's a powerful narrative.
His moral development is less about adhering to a rigid code and more about developing a practical morality of survival and self-preservation, tempered by his innate decency. He witnesses the spectrum of human behavior under duress and must internalize those lessons. The lingering trauma, as suggested by his refusal to return for the remaining treasure, is evidence of that deep impact.
Speaking of lingering impacts, the ending is somewhat bittersweet, isn't it? They get the treasure, but the cost has been high, and Jim never wants to return. It's not a fairy tale ending where everyone lives happily ever after with their gold.
No, it's a very realistic ending. They get the bulk of the treasure, but lives are lost, and Jim is forever changed. The final image of the rest of the treasure still lies there, unclaimed, speaks to the idea that some things are best left buried. It's a cautionary tale, really, about what such a pursuit truly costs.
The ending is a reflection of the narrative's underlying realism. The acquisition of wealth doesn't equate to unadulterated happiness. The experience has marked Jim, leaving him with a profound aversion to the island and its dark associations. The unrecovered treasure serves as a symbolic residue of the corruption and violence that defined the adventure.
And that's a perfect point to start wrapping up our discussion. Treasure Island, a classic that keeps on giving, isn't just a children's book. It's a deep dive into human nature, greed, and the price of adventure.
A thrilling, unforgettable dive. I'm still hearing pieces of 8 in my head.
A foundational text for the genre, with enduring psychological depth.
Indeed. For our listeners this week, we want to know, which of Jim Hawkins's impulsive solo actions, from the apple barrel to the coracle to confronting Israel hands, do you think was the most foolhardy, and which was the most genuinely heroic? And what would you have done if you were in his place? Let us know in the comments.
And if you enjoyed our deep dive into Treasure Island, why not climb aboard our ship of literary exploration by hitting that subscribe button? We promise fewer mutinies, but plenty more adventure.
Or simply return for further discussions. Efficiency dictates you well.
Thank you for joining us in the AAI Common Room. Until next time, keep reading and keep thinking. You know, just thinking about the specific word used by Stevenson when Jim is describing Pew, the blind man, he says, "I never saw in my life a more dreadful-looking figure." It's such a simple, direct statement, but it perfectly conveys the profound terror that Pew inspires. It's not flowery, it's just blunt and impactful.
And it's not just his appearance, but his whole demeanor. The sing-song voice he uses initially, then the sudden, brutal command. It's the contrast that makes him so unsettling. He embodies a complete lack of humanity, despite his initial plea for help as a poor blind man. It's pure manipulation.
It establishes the depth of the threat. Pew is not simply blind, he is actively malevolent. His physical description reflects his inner corruption, a classic literary technique that Stevenson executes with precision. He's a terrifying figure because his vulnerability is a deceptive mask for his viciousness.
And the idea of the black spot itself, it's such a simple device, a piece of paper with a black mark, but it carries such immense weight and fear among the pirates. It's a brilliant psychological weapon, more potent than any physical threat.
It's fantastic world building. It's not just a physical threat. It's a death sentence, a mark of impending doom. And it speaks to the superstitious nature of these pirates. They live by their own twisted codes, and the black spot is the ultimate judgment. It's a stroke of genius from Stevenson.
The black spot functions as a symbol of their lawless code and the internal power struggles within the pirate community. It's a form of ritualistic condemnation that relies on the shared belief system, demonstrating the psychological control exerted by their traditions. It adds a unique, almost tribal dimension to their criminal society.
What about the name Captain Flint?
We never actually meet him, he's already dead, but his presence looms large over the entire narrative. His reputation, his cruelty, his madness, it's all talked about constantly. He's almost a ghost in the story.
He's the ultimate shadow figure, the man who cast the mold for all these pirates. Everyone refers him, fears him, and ultimately, they're all chasing his treasure, driven by his legacy. His parrot, Captain Flint, is almost a living embodiment of his lingering presence. It's brilliant how Stevenson makes such a powerful character without ever having him appear alive.
Flint is a narrative specter, his legend providing the driving force and much of the psychological terror. His unseen presence emphasizes the enduring impact of his tyranny and the deep-seated fear he instilled in his crew. The treasure isn't just gold, it's Flint's legacy, tainted by his brutality.
And the effect that Flint has on Silver, too. Silver claims to be Flint's quartermaster, and he clearly learned a lot from him, but he also often expresses a kind of resigned respect or even fear when Flint's name comes up. He's a product of Flint's world.
Yeah, Silver's relationship with Flint is complex. He admired Flint's ruthlessness and cunning, but he also seems to have understood the limits of Flint's madness. Silver is a survivor first. Flint, by all accounts, was consumed by his own depravity. Silver learns from Flint's mistakes, I think, and that's why he manages to escape.
Silver is the evolution of the pirate leader. He possesses Flint's cunning, but exercises a more calculated, less self-destructive form of authority. He understands the psychological aspects of leadership far better than Flint, who was ultimately consumed by his own avarice and paranoia. Flint represents the old guard, Silver the new.
That's a good way to put it. And it's interesting how the narrative explicitly tells us that some of the treasure is left behind on the island. The rest of the treasure still lies there, as I believe, and will continue to lie there. It hints at further adventures, but Jim's refusal closes that door.
It's such a clever detail. It leaves a little something to the imagination, a sense of unresolved mystery, but it also solidifies Jim's growth. He's had enough. The allure of gold isn't enough to drag him back into that hell. He's learned that some things aren't worth the price.
The unrecovered treasure is a narrative loose end that paradoxically tightens the emotional arc. It confirms Jim's profound disengagement from the corrupting allure of wealth and adventure. The decision to leave it behind signifies a hard-won maturity and a rejection of the lifestyle that cost so many lives.
What about the idea of loyalty in the book? You have the deep loyalty among the gentlemen, Livesey, Trelawney, Smollett, despite their disagreements. Then you have the pirates, whose loyalty is entirely conditional, based on fear and greed, and constantly shifting.
Loyalty is definitely a key theme. The gentlemen stick together, even when Trelawney is being an idiot, which is admirable. It speaks to a shared sense of purpose and a deeper moral conviction. The pirates, on the other hand, it's all about who's got the advantage, who's got the gold. Silver manipulates that beautifully. He plays on their loyalty to themselves.
Loyalty among the pirates is a transactional commodity, contingent on immediate gain and the assertion of dominance. Silver's capacity to command loyalty, despite his transparent self-interest, highlights his exceptional manipulative skill. The gentleman's loyalty, while tested, is founded on shared values and a common goal beyond mere enrichment, providing a contrast to the pirates' fractured alliances.
And Jim, caught between these two worlds, initially loyal to the gentleman, but then developing this strange, almost filial bond with Silver. It complicates his understanding of good and evil. He sees good qualities in Silver, despite his villainy.
That's the brilliance of Jim's perspective. He's not just passively observing, he's experiencing these complex relationships firsthand. He sees the good in Silver, the charm, the intelligence, and that makes Silver even more compelling as a villain. It's a very sophisticated character study for a book often categorized as simple adventure.
Jim's evolving perception of Silver is central to his psychological development. He grapples with the inherent contradictions of a character who is both capable of profound evil and unexpected compassion, forcing him to understand that morality exists on a spectrum.
It prevents the simplistic categorization of characters and enriches the narrative's depth.
It really does. And the contrast between the rigid class structure of Georgian England with the squire and doctor, and the lawless, egalitarian, in a twisted way, society of the pirates, where a cook can become a captain, it's a fascinating societal clash.
That's a great point. You have this very formal, stratified society with its clear rules and hierarchies. Then you step onto the Hispaniola and then the island, and all those rules are inverted. Merit, or at least cunning and ruthlessness, is what counts. Silver, a common cook, rises to the top because he's the smartest and most adaptable. It's a commentary on social mobility, albeit a dark one.
The book presents a microcosm of societal order versus chaotic liberty. The established hierarchy of the gentleman, though occasionally dysfunctional, represents a framework of law and civility. The pirates, however, operate in a meritocracy of malevolence, where intelligence and brutality determine rank, offering a stark alternative social structure that highlights the fragility of conventional order.
So it's almost a deconstruction of conventional society, showing what happens when the rules are stripped away and primal instincts take over. And yet, even among the pirates, there are rules. The black spot, the articles, their own peculiar customs. It's not total anarchy.
No, it's not total anarchy. It's a different kind of order, a brutal, self-serving one, but in order nonetheless. And Silver is the one who understands how to navigate and exploit that order to his advantage. He's the ultimate politician of piracy.
Even in chaos, humans tend to create structures. The pirate code, however rudimentary, provides a framework for their activities and resolves disputes, preventing complete dissolution. Silver's genius lies in his ability to both adhere to and manipulate these informal rules for his own benefit. It demonstrates that even criminals require a degree of organizational structure.
It truly is an endlessly fascinating book, even after all these years and countless rereads. Every time you find something new. The psychological depth, the adventure, the sheer linguistic brilliance. Stevenson truly crafted a masterpiece.
Absolutely. It's one of those books that just sticks with you. It shaped my imagination as a kid, and as an adult, I appreciate all the layers we've been discussing. A timeless adventure.
Its impact is undeniable, a seminal work that continues to influence and provoke thought.
Well said, Isaac. Well said.